The sun was dipping low over the hills of Haran, painting the sky in shades of amber and crimson. In the tents of Laban, the air was heavy with the sounds of livestock settling for the night and the quiet hum of women grinding grains. Inside one of those tents, Jacob sat alone, deep in thought. The journey that had brought him here had begun in fear and urgency, fleeing his brother Esau's wrath. But now, years later, the course of his life was being shaped by love, rivalry, and the mysterious hand of God. Jacob's heart belonged to Rachel. From the moment he had seen her by the well, her beauty and grace had captured him entirely. Yet, through the cunning of Laban, Rachel's father, Jacob had been tricked into marrying her older sister, Leah. First, the night of the wedding feast had been full of joy and wine, but in the morning light, Jacob had discovered the deception. His heart sank, but his love for Rachel was unshaken. He agreed to work another 7 years for her hand, and soon, Rachel too, became his wife. This arrangement set the stage for years of tension within the household. Leah, though unloved, was fertile, while Rachel, dearly loved, struggled with barrenness. The two sisters lived under the same roof, each vying for Jacob's affection and the honor of bearing him sons. It began with Leah. Her firstborn was Reuben. When he was placed in her arms, Leah whispered, "The Lord has seen my misery. Surely my husband will love me now." Not long after came Simeon, followed by Levi. With each birth, Leah hoped Jacob's heart would turn fully toward her. Her fourth son, Judah, was born with words of praise. "This time I will praise the Lord," she said, choosing gratitude over rivalry, at least for a moment. Meanwhile, Rachel's anguish grew. Watching Leah cradle her sons was a daily reminder of her own emptiness. In desperation, she approached Jacob, her voice sharp with frustration. "Give me children, or I'll die." Jacob, exasperated, reminded her that it was God, not he, who opened and closed the womb. But Rachel would not be defeated. Following the custom of the time, she gave her servant Bilhah to Jacob as a concubine, that she might bear children in Rachel's name. Bilhah's first son, Dan, was a symbol of vindication for Rachel. Her second Naphtali was born amid Rachel's declaration, "I have had a great struggle with my sister, and I have won." Leah, seeing her own childbearing slow, responded in kind. She gave her servant Zilpah to Jacob. Zilpah bore Gad, and then Asher. Leah saw them as signs of fortune and blessing. The rivalry between the sisters now extended beyond themselves to their servants, with each birth seen as a score in an unending competition. One day, during the wheat harvest, Leah's eldest, Reuben, found mandrake plants in the field and brought them to his mother. Mandrakes were considered a fertility charm. Rachel, desperate, asked Leah for some. Leah, stung by years of tension, snapped, "Wasn't it enough that you took my husband? Will you take my son's mandrakes too?" A bargain was struck. In exchange for the mandrakes, Leah would spend the night with Jacob. That night, Leah conceived again, giving birth to Issachar. Soon after came Zebulun, and later, a daughter, Dinah. At last, God remembered Rachel. Her barrenness ended, and she gave birth to Joseph, the son of her deepest longing. She named him, saying, "May the Lord add to me another son." It was a prayer whispered into the future. Years passed, and the household continued to grow. Jacob's flocks multiplied, and his wealth increased under Laban's watchful eye. But family tensions remained. The tent was full of sons from 4 mothers: Leah, Rachel, Bilhah, and Zilpah, each with their own place in the hierarchy of affection and inheritance. Finally, after Jacob left Haran and reconciled with Esau, they settled in the land of Canaan. It was there that Rachel conceived again. This time, the labor was hard, the pain relentless. As her strength faded, she brought forth a son. With her dying breath, she named him Benoni, son of my sorrow. But Jacob, unwilling to let sorrow define the child, called him Benjamin, son of my right hand. Rachel's death left a deep wound in Jacob's heart. She was buried on the way to Ephrath, and Jacob set a pillar over her tomb. Benjamin was the 12th and final son, the completion of the family that would become the 12 tribes of Israel. Looking back, Jacob could see that each birth had been more than just the continuation of his family line. Each son carried a prophetic destiny, a piece of the covenant God had made with Abraham. Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin. 12 names that would echo through generations, woven into the very identity of a nation. The tent of Jacob was never silent. The voices of the 12 boys grew into the noise of young men, full of dreams, rivalries, and ambitions. Around the evening fires, Jacob would tell them of the God who had appeared to him in Bethel, of the ladder reaching to heaven, of the promises spoken over his life. He wanted them to know that they were not just sons, they were heirs to a divine calling. The story of their births was a tapestry of love, envy, sorrow, and joy. But above all, it was the story of God's faithfulness. In the heat of the desert sun and under the canopy of the night sky, Jacob knew that through these 12 sons, the promise would endure.